Dr. Vegapunk has something very important to tell the world. If we take a close look at the beginning of the Egghead Island arc, there may have been some hints of Dr. Vegapunk's ultimate plan here. Dr. Vegapunk's broadcast is not what you think. Vegapunk's ultimate goals. Dr. Vegapunk has only ever cared about one thing. That's the progression of the human world through scientific advancement. It's important to keep in mind that he only started working with the government to fund his research into his inventions. As even pre-world government, when he was in MADS, they were being funded by an underworld broker in Dufeld. But shortly after joining with the government, when he visited Ohara in the aftermath of his destruction, he saw Dragon there. Dragon was disappointed with him for working with the world government. Vegapunk tells him that he needs a way to fund his inventions and that Dragon needs to focus on the ultimate goal. That ultimate goal is bringing the world forward, as their mutual friend Professor Clover was snuffed out by the government, along with the rest of the scholars of Ohara, for studying the forbidden poneglyphs. But Vegapunk, being a scientist, is also a natural scholar, so he wanted to continue the will of Ohara. Thus, he went to Elbaf and met the giants who collected the books that were saved from the Buster Call. He would go on to not only match the Oharans' efforts, but would even further it. Within his overall goal of bringing the world forward through tech, he also has some kind of, sub-goals under that one. Obviously, everything he invents is with the intent of bettering the world overall, but a couple of inventions are extra near and dear to him. One of his main goals is to create virtually the One Piece equivalent of the internet through his punk records he uses to share information amongst his various satellites. Also, a renewable energy source similar to the one used during the Void Century, which could make energy free for all the people of the planet. Now, Vegapunk is perfectly content with spending whatever money the government would give him to work on his inventions, but even so, he didn't have the necessary manpower and funding to mass produce his inventions. And even with the government funding he does receive, it doesn't mean he would blindly trust the government. In fact, he had several contingencies in place that the government were none the wiser to. The many contingencies of Dr. Vegapunk. Due to the nature of some of the things Dr. Vegapunk has been asked to create by and for the government, he has had to take it into his own hands to protect the people he cares about and the overall people of the world. An obvious example is allowing Kuma to retain some of his humanity, or the situation where the five elders, as far as they knew, had ultimate hierarchy over the Pacifista and the Seraphim. Come to find out, it's actually Bonnie, for the ones that look like Kuma at least, which is most of them. I'm sure from the time he joined the world government, he knew that while he was an asset to them, he was also a liability with all that he knew. So once he took on the will of Ohara and went directly against them, it's not surprising that he assumed that they'd be after him eventually. Like what Shaka told Dragon at the beginning of Egghead, and thus came his greatest contingency plan of them all. This is a public service announcement. 99% of the people watching this video are not subscribed. Help me get to 1,000 subs by the end of this year, and like the video if you're enjoying it so it can be shared with others who might like it too. Vegapunk's broadcast. Vegapunk set up a broadcast that would go around the world in the event of the main Stella body dying, and I think what he plans to do with it was actually foreshadowed at the beginning of this arc. This is an arc that has been very focused on memories. Bonnie enters Kuma's memory to learn the truth of his past. Vegapunk wishes he could forget everything he ever had to do with Kuma. Vegapunk stored all of his own memories within the super database that is Punk Records. And we even get a little cameo from Memory Girl herself in Pudding. Vegapunk Shaka says himself that all that he learned about the Void Century was stored right in his brain in Punk Records. So I think that his memories will actually be shown on the video transponder snails around the world. The time limit for this to happen is likely in part so that the people around the world can, set up a TV, but also because Vegapunk needs time to upload the data from Punk Records. Even the Gorsei have mentioned the importance of maintaining that data among the top of their own goals. I doubt Vegapunk will have time to show everything he knows, but I think he'll have a way to show what he thinks will be the most pertinent information for the people of the One Piece world. This way, they can not only know the truth, but see it with their own eyes.